Well, my name is Colin Bailey, running for the 5th Congressional District. When you have a $1.6 trillion projected deficit and you're borrowing money from China to pay for these programs, I don't think you can say that it's not at the cost of the taxpayers. But out of all the fine gentlemen and lady at this table, I would think it's safe for me to say that I've spent more time in education and administrative part than all of them put together. I've spent 16 years on the Charles County Board of Education, and the thing that is holding us back is all the federal mandates and No Child Left Behind, which sucks all the oxygen out of the room. I was content to continue working to improve education for our youth. Education is important. Our youth are precious. But when No Child Left Behind was passed with support on both sides of the aisle, it made where we have a driving to the bottom rather than allowing us to raise to the top. I, like candidate Broadus, would do away with the Department of Education, allow that money to stay at the state, local, and individual level where it can be better managed. We are striving on the local level for excellence. I've heard some great speeches about what needs to be done in education. I said, boy, I wonder what school board they're running for, and then I find out they're running for a federal office. It doesn't belong at the federal level. It belongs closest to the parent, and that's at the local level. Thank you.
Andrew Gall, Democrat, 5th District. For those that want to abolish the Department of Education, I just think you're out of your gosh darn mind, to be honest. An investment in our children is an investment in our nation's future. It helps our economy. It strengthens our nation. Get rid of that idea for a second. But having studied the education policy, I can tell you there's one thing that goes through every, when you look at the data. What is the indicator of not being successful? It's not union or not union, it's not charter or not true charter, it's poverty. Poverty is the #1 indicator of not being able to succeed in the education system. So if we want to address our education and make it better, we have to address poverty alleviation, because that goes to everything else. It creates the opportunity to be able to go to college, to create the opportunity to get that tutor and have that internet in your home and do well in school. So if we want to focus on education, let's also focus on poverty alleviation. Thank you so much.
Charles Lawler, education has to be given a choice at every level, federal, local, state, county. In fact, I know that some of the strongest schools here in this county, as well as across our state, in terms of performance of charter schools, because parents are able to take a look at their current school system and make choices about where they want to send their children and use their tax dollars to pay for their children's future. We should not be pressed or faced with an opportunity where we have to send our child to a school that's failing when we know we can use those same tax dollars and send our children to more schools that are being successful, where the parents are involved in the school and the teachers are held accountable for what they teach our children. In all honesty, I'm extremely frustrated with the amount of money that goes to the administrative cost when it comes to education. It's almost like we pay our school superintendents all the way up the line more than we put money and emphasis on our children and their education in the classroom. I don't know about you, but I have to make that trip to Walmart every year at the beginning of the year and buy a bunch of crayons, pencils, and papers, which when I grew up, my parents didn't have to buy those things, but for some reason, I've got to spend $130, $140 on school supplies for my children because it's sucked up with school superintendents making $250,000 a year. Something is wrong with that, and when I hear people talk about the Department of Education and their frustration with the federal government, it's only because when they look on the budget where the money's going, it's not going to our students. It's not going for our children. It's going to line pockets. We have to take a real hard look at that. Poverty is a good point to talk about, especially when it comes to job creation, because it takes parents to raise children, successful children. I've heard the argument of the village, and I'm sure some would like to come to my home and help me raise my children, although I don't think Chelsea would think that I have a problem with that. In fact, we were just at her school, and while there, she was upset because I was forced her to go to AP classes. But one thing the counselor said to me is it's good that parents are here, because I just don't see enough parents coming up to get their children registered in school. We've got to get our parents jobs. We have to get our parents working, especially here in Prince George's County. That's what I'm going to be working towards. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Education is something that no one can take away from you. But sure as the devil, they've been taken away from our children too long. And we've got to stop blaming the teachers for the problem. It's not the teachers, it's the community. It takes a village to furnish education. The key to success the key to a strong nation. Education touches all aspects of our life. We need to stop blaming the teachers, and when I get to Congress, I'm going to have educational summits within the county, PG County, and let's sit down and look at the storehouse of information that's available in the Department of Education and see how we can come together to satisfy the needs of Prince George's County. The problem with education is not that we got too much one-size-fits-all. That's not true. Each community has their own distinct characteristics that need to be addressed. Some of them may need vouchers, some of them may need a special program. Some of them may need vocational education instead of so much academic education per se. We got a lot of good people that can do a lot of good with their hands, vocational education, and make a darn good living. So we need to do that. Education, an education summit, the federal government should support whenever they can, and they're doing a pretty good job, but they need to lay off about maybe 10 or 20% of people that's working at the Department of Education, take that money and put it into the school system where the rubber meets the road. Thank you very much.
I've listened to all the other candidates, the one that wants to abolish the Department of Education. Just imagine back 60 years ago if it had abolished the Department of Education, we didn't have a national government that stepped in. You would have 2 classes or 3 classes of schools right now. You put the control back in the state and the county, you're going to have substandard schools for the minorities, the disadvantaged, and you're going to have, just like Montgomery County, privileged schools, and Fairfax County, privileged schools. You have to have balance. A nation cannot survive unless it has a proper education. The nation has to set laws so that everybody gets a chance to a uniform minimum education. I want to ask you a question. You all talk about education. Everybody in this audience who's not here with a candidate today, raise your hand, please.
Your time. You're using your time.
That's fine. That's my point. 5 people raise their hand. Are we educating anybody? No, we're not educating anybody. We've just got political people supporting political people for political jobs.
Thank you.